Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. Today, again, we're listening to one of the greatest choral ensembles of all time, and that's Voce8, performing one of my favorite choral pieces, Sleep by Eric Whitacre. So in this video, we're going to listen to this wonderful song, and then we'll go back and dissect some things, break some things down, and hopefully learn a little bit more about this piece. If you want your recommendations bumped up to the top of the list, check out Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon, both of which are linked in the description below. Here we go. Okay, we'll keep going, but I want to pause there. Just, goosebumps all over. It's such a beautiful piece. I always find every time I listen to this, if it's a good performance like this one, that I'm holding my breath a little bit because the phrases just never seem to stop. You do something in choral singing called stagger breathing. So if you have to take a breath, you can, but others probably won't be taking the same breath at the same time as you. So it just has this continuous feeling. It just never stops. The sound never dies. And that's a really beautiful effect. But as the listener, you have to remember to breathe. So beautiful. We're getting a hint of dissonance in there. Classic Eric Whitacre. We're going to talk more about that later on in the video. What the dissonance is, what it means, how it's used in this context. And one final thing I'll say, and I always say this about Voce8, the text is so clear that I understand every word. And that's a hard thing to do in choral music, right? To get the text out in a clear way, it's not easy. So they can do it. Let's continue on. It's stunning. Beautiful. at the end of every Voce8 video, I am whispering. They do such a beautiful job of just keeping everything, just bringing it all nice and small. At the end of every video, it seems. Beautiful. Theoretically, they could go on forever until they reach absolute nothingness. That's what it says on the score here. It says, gradually reduce dynamics to a whisper, repeat and dim. So they're just going to keep repeating until they get softer and softer and softer until they can't make any more sound. It's a very, very cool effect, which fits the theme of the song, which is sleep, right? So you're just sort of fading away. Does anybody ever remember falling asleep? No, you just, all of a sudden you're asleep. So that's kind of how he sort of captured that idea here of just fading away to nothing, and then it's over, almost like you're fading away, and then you're asleep. Simple effect, but stunning. There is a lot to talk about in this video, and there's a lot that I'm going to have to leave out, or else this video will be weeks and weeks long. There's just so much to dissect here. But I want to talk about some of the key points and some of the big takeaways that I have when I listen to this, or what I look for in a good performance of this. And if I were directing this, or if I'm singing this myself, I'm really going to focus on, because there are certain effects in here that are very, very, well, they're not easy to do. Dissonance is not an easy thing to do, but to do it well really makes a big difference. It's a real impactful piece either way. But if you can get those little details just right, it's going to be absolutely sublime. So let's head back to the beginning now. And I have the score in front of me. So whenever I reference the score, I will show it on the screen so you can see. Yes. Okay. Stunningly beautiful opening line. You'll notice we're in E flat major. So to my ear, I don't know why this is, maybe you would disagree, but to my ear, E flat major is mellow and round and warm and comforting. And I think that's why he chose this key. What it also does is it allows the basses to go down to a low E flat, which for most basses, myself included, that's gonna be the basement for us. Without us, like I can sing a low D or a low D flat or a low C sometimes, but I'm gonna have to really work. A low E flat, what's the word? Dune. I can round that off and make it kind of nice and warm, or feels warm in my voice, which is going to help the overall effect of sleep. It's like you're sleeping by a warm fire. So that's going to help me. It's also going to allow the sopranos to not be too high, because I think they sing up to a G, maybe an A flat. Yeah, a couple A flats kick in there. So that's high in their range without them having to work impossibly hard. So it's kind of a nice sweet spot for both ends of the spectrum. It's not too low for the basses. We can still sing it warm. It's not too high for the sopranos that it's going to be shrill and they're really going to have to work hard. There's no high C's in there. As we continue on to the next phrase, you'll notice too, hopefully, that there's a lot of meter changes. So we start in 4/4 in common time, move to 2/4, back to common time, 2/4, 2/4, common time, 3/4, 2/4. So the meter, although it's written out on the score, there's really not a meter. It just kind of flows. Yeah. And that's, I think, where we're getting that feeling of just continuous motion, always moving forward all the time. That's coming from that meter change. Now, if you just listen to it, you probably don't even hear the time signature change, only if you're looking at the score. So I would say as an ensemble, if I was singing this piece, or if I was learning it or teaching it to a choir, I would try to get them to not get too caught up on the changing time signatures, because really and truly, we're just notating it. It doesn't really exist in the actual singing of it, or at least we don't want to feel it too much. Yeah? Okay, let's keep going. So what do we have here? We have C in the bass. We have a G in the tenor. So we've got the outline of a C major chord so far. And also we've got an E natural. So we've got C, E natural, and G. That is a C major chord. But what's happening also? We've got an F in the soprano part. Okay, so that's going to give us some of that nice clash, that dissonant harmony in there that Eric Whitacre is so well known for, right? There's a lot of dissonance in his music, and it just goes to show that dissonance does not mean it's not beautiful, because Eric Whitacre's music is described as some of the most beautiful music on the entire planet. So it just adds a little touch of something in there. And if we think about it, I know that sleep is coming soon. I'm not asleep yet. So there's maybe that F natural is in there just to give a little bit of edge that we're not quite asleep yet, but we're getting there. Maybe we're having a little bit of trouble going to sleep, and maybe we're getting a little bit anxious about that. Okay. Upon my pillow, safe in bed, 1,000 pictures fill my head. So maybe we're thinking so much we can't quite sleep yet. But as we know, at the end of the song, I think we get there. Let's keep going. I love that part. It's one of my favorite sections in the whole piece. So I'm fortunate because not only have I sung this piece multiple times in multiple choirs, I've also done a virtual choir of this. Upon my pillow, safe in bed. So I've sung all the different parts. So I know what they all sound like. And I know how beautiful each one is. And it's so amazing to me because I'm not a composer by any means. So it's really great for me just to experience all of those different lines so I can piece together how they fit together. It's kind of cool to watch that or to experience that. For example, in the bass part, if we look at measure 21 going into 22, there's a lot of big intervals there. It's almost like we're doing a sequence, da dee da dee da dee da dee, going down a nice sequence. And the soprano ones and soprano twos are kind of doing a similar thing in thirds. So there's this real sort of rocking the boat image that I'm getting when I'm listening to this. I cannot sleep, my mind's aflight, and yet my limbs seem made of lead, right? So my mind is racing right now, and maybe that's where those big interval kind of shifts come. But my limbs seem made of lead. So I am really tired, but my mind's just racing. I have so much going on up there. And I think it's really cool and fascinating how Eric Whitacre is able to capture that feeling through the music, and the text is so nice too. And who doesn't love that dissonance on measure 17 when you sing the word bed? So we have F and C in the bass department. We have a G and an A natural in the tenors. We have a C and an F in the altos, and then an A natural and a B flat in the sopranos. So a lot of tension in there, and I love it. So, one thing I did want to say is just on this idea of dissonance, and I may have talked about this before when I've looked at this piece. Dissonance, it has to be sung really, really in tune, potentially more so than non-dissonant chords, which is kind of a wild thing to say. Maybe we're in Western society or Western music, we're more accustomed to really focusing on the tuning of those consonant harmonies like perfect fifths, major thirds, perfect octaves. We want to be absolutely in tune. But on dissonant harmonies, because they're not quite as frequent in Baroque music, they're still there by all means, but they're not quite as frequent, then we kind of ignore the dissonant harmonies. But if they're not sung in tune, we don't quite get the effect. And that's something that I've learned in my experience as a choral singer is we really need to tune those major seconds, for example. They can't be too close together. They have to actually be quite a wide interval, even though they're only a second apart. So I'm sure in their rehearsal process, I like to guess as to what Voce8 works on when they're doing these incredible pieces. I'm going to guess that the tuning of the dissonant chords would be of absolute importance for them. Yeah, so not only that feeling of flowiness, it's just always going forward, 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 but also getting those dissonant harmonies and dissonant chords really in tune so that they can pop. And singing in a church like this, in this big acoustic space, is going to help that, I think. I think they'll feel more comfortable rather than in a studio where the acoustic is kind of, dry and it's not the best environment to sing dissonant harmonies. This is great. And they do it perfectly. No complaints from me. That's a beautiful, beautiful section. I love what the basses are doing here. They just have that C over and over again. They just sing a C over and over again, so softly and beautifully. And what the tenors have to do, which is always such a challenge, is they have to then, at certain times, join the basses and make it seem like they haven't joined at all. Like it's just supposed to be so seamless. And Voce8, of course, they do a fantastic job of that. So for example, measure 27, the basses sing if, and then on beat 2, then the tenors come in with an if, and they just have to blend. I always think of the image of when you've got a school of fish going down the river. If you had a fish in your hands and you threw it in, it would just seamlessly join that school of fish, right? So that's kind of what you have to do when you're blending. And it happens again on a couple times, but another example would be measure 33. They sing in, and then the tenors have to come in a different word, but same pitch. So they have to make sure they're absolutely in tune, or else it's just not going to work. So there's a shift, and maybe we'll go back and listen to it. In measure 30, the pickup to measure 36. So the basses come in and the tenors come in, but we kind of get some lower notes in there too. When we finally sing, I surrender unto sleep. Okay, so I think at this point we're getting there. We're almost asleep, or maybe we are asleep at this point. But I think that depth in the basses that comes in, that warmth that they bring, makes it seem like we're really starting to slumber. Yeah, I think that's kind of where my brain goes. Let's see if we can hear that. Listen for the basses coming in and just adding some warmth to this. come on. We just have this huge climactic moment where we've got, I don't know, it seems like fortissimo because we've been singing so softly all the way through, but it's just absolutely grand. We finally get that A flat. There's lots of dissonance. We come down on a very interesting syncopated pattern. And then where we just ended up now, again, back in that pianissimo land. That is really cool to get such a big contrast in such a short amount of time. I really, really like that. So now in this final section, we're going to go into the sleep. We're going to go into that kind of lulling trance. But so much in there. As I surrender unto sleep, as I surrender unto sleep. So we're giving into it, right? And I love that Whitaker's able to express that feeling of just surrendering to sleep. And if you're working on this piece, whether you're a choral director, you're a singer, whatever you're doing with this piece, I want that feeling to come through in your performance, that it's a surrendering to sleep. How often have you tried successfully, probably not very successfully, to force yourself to fall asleep? I always do that. If I have a big day the next day, I'm like, okay, I have to go to bed. I have a big day tomorrow. I always have a terrible sleep because I'm forcing it. You just have to give in to the sleep. And that's what Voce8's been able to capture. It's what Whitaker's been able to capture in this music. It's absolutely beautiful. And I'm sure if I went even deeper into the harmonic structure, the chord progressions, all the things music theory-wise that are embedded in this piece, we'd find even more clues and more secrets. So maybe that can be your homework. Let's listen to this final section now, where we're really coming down, somehow even more. But it's not just sleep, 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 repeated over and over again. There's variety in this. The sopranos eventually sing, as we can see on measure 65, sleep. We get some perfect fourths going in there, which is interesting. The basses are doing something. Everybody's kind of doing their own part. And then eventually at the end, we repeat. Let's keep going. Interesting. So I'm looking closely at their mouths. And isn't it interesting how in an ensemble of people, we can all sing the exact same vowel, but it's slightly different in our mouths. So this is an E vowel. All right. This person here, their mouth is very closed. He's showing more front teeth. He's almost doing an oo. And they're all singing the same sleep, but all the mouth shapes are slightly different. Over here, it's more of an So some people like to go more to sleep or sleep, which is to me more of a sleep, or somewhere in the middle. Isn't that fascinating? We work so hard on the blend, and they do a spectacular job of that, but still the mouth shape is different because everybody's different. Cool. And it really feels like just the breath, the inhale and the exhale. Sleep. Finally, we're asleep. Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic job. I love that. And there's just so many clues that we can get in good composers like Whitaker, where he leaves little secrets, and they're so obvious sometimes. Some of them are a little bit more secret and they're harder to find. But listening to a recording or listening to a performance of the caliber of Voce8, you can really see, oh, that's what he was doing. And I know Whitaker's worked with them too. So that's sort of a best of both worlds, because not only do we get the composer's insights, but you get a choir, you get a vocal ensemble that's capable of executing the things to the absolute nth degree. Incredible. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown and analysis of one of my favorite choral pieces. It's not overdone. Every choir's done it, but it's so special. It's fantastic. And Voce8 is, again, one of the best ensembles in the world. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and check out some of the other videos that are about to pop up on your screen. Don't forget to check out Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon, both of which are linked in the video description. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.